Fast forward, you come our channel, so how see each politics avenue. Political stories are training making headlines. And the Jembre na EDB Akroma, our Mr. Say, Yamo in writing Simu, not ye quite in Sima, Onya some koto apra. A year Auditors General Report, a bar abontenso. Fetasisha proye kankan. Etimi Addo Crow, a year public sectors within another damn class, Akuffo regime, no. And His Excellency John Dramani Mahama etimi Sanction a year OSP and Auditor General say omunkamum na sika afa a year public sectors no fubi insase no omu intimi engineering na emra sansem we say and I'm not saying about for attraction omu eyemu hwemu a ene medibi exum ewa emu ran simu.
Welcome back to Key Point on TV3. We're live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana, on Facebook, and on the Voice of London radio in the heart of the city of London, and the Voice of London television as well. This one here from, it says, Alfred, this is the best panel ever on your program. Kudos to these great men. Anyway, Professor Anam Zoya communicates in an open and truthful way that is constructive and respectful. Much appearances of him would do us some good as well. And viewers and listeners says, good morning to them all. Thank you. The Auditor General's report has been a conversation over the last couple of weeks before the Public Accounts Committee, and now we're getting information from the Auditor General itself that the Office of Special Prosecutor is going to be brought in to help in the recovery of diverted or stolen, unaccounted for funds, public funds, that matter. I wanted to take a look at how bad things look. Reason why this is of concern to us this morning. Let's take a look at this. On the matter of the irregularities, we compare over the period 2023, but we're looking at the 2024 irregularities increased by 109% across board. 2023 was 8.79 billion. 2024, we are talking about 18.41 billion. Then you have energy sector public financial irregularities, 15.8 billion, so an 86% increase in that. And the declaration of revenue collected, about 2.935 billion. And as we've seen, and is that to say that the current legal architecture empowering the Auditor General to recover these diverted or stolen funds is not effective at doing that? Let me start off with you, Mr. Bento. Because there are charges and allowances.
Laws do not implement themselves. We have enough laws in this country. I formed Occupy Ghana. Occupy Ghana proceeded to take these matters to court. Rulings were made. Daniel Damelovo proceeded to try and recover them. Corruption fought him. And you have a situation where there's a revolving door between some of the heads of these institutions and the political class. And they are kind of taking care of themselves. So the point I'm making is this. We need to appreciate that we have enough laws, but the laws do not implement themselves, which is why I always agree that we need institutions, but we also need strong men to manage those institutions. And those strong men must take their stand and not be cowards. What you have is a situation where if people, okay, so there's poor leadership at the departmental or technical level. So for instance, at the Controller and Accountant General's Department and the Auditor General's Department, there's poor leadership at that point. And the difference you see is difference in people like Daniel Damelovo. One man comes to office and makes a difference.
True.
The rest, you see them just towing the line. And look at the recent history. Towing the line, protecting people who were in political office. So there again, you see the point that I'm making. So that poor leadership at that departmental level is a big problem. Then there is poor leadership at the political level. the political level, because when the people at the departmental level or at the heads of those institutions try to do what is right, you get phone calls, you get threats, and you get people in the political class calling you to, take an easy, path regarding their people. Because invariably, those are the people benefiting from the rot. Look, when you see the Auditor General's report, and you see the Public Accounts Committee reports, they are a report of our annual perverse culture of looting the state and our leaders refusing to do anything about it. And those leaders are the Article 71 leaders, who are the best paid people in this country. And they do the revolving door between politics and heads of these institutions. The point I am making is that we are refusing to deal with the matters. Okay? And if we don't stop, we'll continue doing this until one day it blows up in our face. Poor leadership is the reason. Let me add this point. The Controller and Accountant General, I checked, they have about 6,000 staff.
Yes.
And let me tell you this for a fact. They have the most qualified accountants in this country, better than any accounting firm. In terms of numbers, yes. No accounting firm has more accountants, chartered accountants and professionals. The kind of expertise in the public sector is better and higher than in the private sector. All right? In the last 20 years, I checked, they've spent about $200 million in software.
$200 million?
Yes.
Accounting softwares and...
Accounting, so let me explain. Actually, it's about 400 million, but it's not only for Controller and Accountant General. It's cross, sectoral. But a lot of it is trying to manage government payroll, manage expenditures, manage, all kinds of softwares and things. And the one that can be attributed to Controller and Accountant General across about 20 years is about $200 million.
Wow.
6,000 qualified persons, all that money, the payroll, the government's payroll is not more than 2 million people.
Not more than 2 million?
Not more than 2 million people that government has to pay. Alfred, let me tell you this. Managing the payroll of 2 million people in Ghana can be done by an accountant using one laptop and software costing $10,000. Walmart has 2.5 million people and pays them every week. All right? So tell me why 6,000 qualified people who have spent hundreds of millions of dollars on software cannot handle payroll of 2 million people in this small country called Ghana. And we have to have this annual, and payroll is just one issue.
Absolutely.
When it comes to expenditures, sometimes expenditures, there are no receipts, expenditures that were not authorized, and all kinds of things which are not rocket science.
And you see that various forms of irregularities every year. It's become a perennial affair.
Yes.
Yearly we lament about this, and it keeps getting worse by subsequent years.
And I'm telling you why.
And payroll is the biggest.
And I'm telling you why. This is not a mistake. This is not a problem. This is some people's plan working well.
Look at that. Look at payroll. Payroll.
Me, I've been looking at this for over a decade.
14 to 57.
My brother, I said this is why Occupy Ghana was formed, and we took this matter up, and you know what happened in this country. When we got the one person who was going to do it, they ran him out of office. This is not a problem. This is some people's plan working well. And this is what we set up all those offices in Article 71 to do, for which we pay them very good money. And those people have refused to solve this problem. And this is what we are doing to the country.
And I'm sorry, bring it in. This is just, and if what Kofi is saying is anything to go by, it says it's a scheme in place by people running it to benefit from the weaknesses in the system. And those who have to check it are either benefiting or sitting aloof, essentially, and being paid for doing nothing.
Well, this is unfortunate. I will start by saying that the figures that we see here represent people's behavior. Yes, people's behavior in institutions. So sometimes when we are put into positions, we forget that we are put there as servants. Whether public servants or civil servants, we are all serving the country or serving the public. But where the individual who is serving the public, civil or public servant, plans to not serve himself or herself, that's the consequences. Sometimes I begin to wonder, what do we value as Ghanaians? I actually uphold Mr. Bentel's idea of the need for strong leadership. Why is this continuing every year? It's even increasing. The figures are even increasing.
Absolutely.
And if this is the plan of others to become wealthy, what happens to the state that they are managing? Why is it that people intentionally, if you like, create situations where they benefit from, and then the state suffers? I think that we need to also understand that when we serve the state, we are serving ourselves. When we work for the state, we're working for ourselves. So if we engage in these actions or inactions, and then the state suffers from resources, and not being able to provide what we need as Ghanaians, we can suffer this at the end of the day. Let's say you get sick, and then you feel that, okay, you have made so much money, you can be flown out of the country for medical attention. But as you got sick, you are required to get stabilized before you are flown out of the country. So you have made so much money out of this behavior, and you think you can fly out of Ghana for medical attention. Now, at the point of sickness, the only clinic near to your community is not well equipped. But that's where they should take you to stabilize you before they fly you out. Then you find that, well, I should have behaved in a way to ensure that resources are left for the state to provide for me as a Ghanaian. So when we behave negatively as public servants or civil servants, the negative consequences can be also affect the perceived beneficiaries. I mean, there are many people who died in Ghana because they were first sent to the nearest medical hospital to get stabilized before they are flown out. But if that nearest medical facility is not well equipped, then you find that that's your doomsday. So this is about behavior, it's about attitude. But again, if people don't want to behave as expected, what do? We sanction them.
That's why.
And the sanctions must be very vigorous, must be very public, must be very immediate. I mean, we need leadership who can crack the whip immediately. And I think we've been talking about development. If you have resources and you have poor attitude towards the state, we see the state to be a stranger, unfortunately. The state is a stranger, it's not my father's property, it's not my father's job. So we behave towards the state in a way that benefits us. So when we get the opportunity, we want to steal from the state, abuse the state, see the state to be a strange entity, and see us to be outside the state, whereas in actual sense, we are part of the state.
Indeed.
So if we don't get this notion right, that we in the state are one, and think the state is different from us, we'll keep behaving in a way that we are doing now. I mean, and that's what leads to all these increasing figures of monies going down the drain, and yet we are unable to recover them. And we don't also see how they are being sanctioned as much as they should have been. So I think we need to have strong leadership to crack the whip as and when there's the need.
But that's what, for leadership, that's what governmental reference about what Daniel Domelevo brought as an Auditor General. It shouldn't be about the personality, is it not? There are functions of that particular office, but it appears that even though the functions are clearly stipulated and how such irregularities should be dealt with, including surcharges, we haven't seen much of that in place, at the least. That is what is also encouraging these levels of irregularities that we're seeing. As far as we do know, based on this report that I have, copies of it, the Auditor General says some 12.7 billion has been recovered out of the almost 40 billion disallowed expenditure. This is disallowed expenditure that was flagged between 2020 and 2023 in the report. So where is the disconnect? Where is the deficiency in the process of addressing some of these irregularities, reason why we have to deal with increasing levels of fraud, corruption on a yearly basis in the public sector?
Yes, so it's a very complex one, but let's start this way. Is the political patronage is a very complex problem. It has various facets. Political patronage, impunity, incompetence, and this a lack of participating citizens. Citizens not participating enough. That's not holding the duty bearers to account. We could go on and on. There are many, but I'm looking at the first four. Political patronage, okay? The incompetence, right? The impunity. Maybe impunity first. What are we talking about when we come to impunity? You said 12 point something recovered out of 40. The figures are even more. I mean, Occupy Ghana, etc. Years past. The last time we did a demonstration, could be a year. You know, this Auditor General went on a demonstration, right, in 2020. Was it 2022? Earlier on, September or something like that. Went on a demonstration asking for better, what do you call it, outcomes, etc. Since then, and that day, if you looked at the demonstration we did, how many were we? Citizens, a lot of our citizens have aligned politically. People have aligned, just waiting to enter government and make money. So when you talk privately, they will tell you many things. If you say, show your face, come and demonstrate. No, I remember that day, the demonstration. How many were we? It's crazy. And we did a short distance. We met opposite Kempinski. And then we demonstrated.
And we went to Independence Square.
Very short. We did better. We started from Circle and did about 6 hours the whole day. So the citizens are also a part of it. Look, as we sit now, when you talk about impunity, when Domlevo was leaving, there were a number of surcharges he was working on, okay? But when he left, Johnson Kwamwa, okay, didn't see to that. He didn't. I wrote this to make inquiries, and then long story short, me too, you know, it's pro bono. So there's a limit to which we can fight. You remember earlier on they did illegal recruitment. This is but chairman, they did illegal recruitments. We took the case to this is the information commissioner, etc. Auditor, the audit service, they were found liable. They were to pay a fine. Long story short, eventually then they brought some half-hearted information. So the audit service itself, the setup is very corrupt.
That's the leadership
audit service.
Yes, very, very corrupt. But me at least I have a case where they didn't obey the rules. Okay, they didn't. It's a case I won. All right, we took it.
Okay.
Yeah, the Right to Information Commission. They found them liable and fined them. Diajima was sitting there, a very political, very divisive figure. I don't even know, but of course he suited Akuffo so that they would massage things, do it the way Akuffo wants. You say. Now let's make the next point. I'm aware that the whole of this year, the board has not met. Under the audit service, the constitutional instrument 70, they must meet at least 6 times a year. So right now, as we sit here, President Mahama, you've left Johnson Kwame to be running the place alone with Jemima Atta.
Okay.
Ask how many board meetings have they had? The CI is here. You get it. CI, this is 70. Regulation 4. It says that there must be at least 6 meetings. Let's ask today what is happening there. So you have a lot of the auditors who go. They also get compromised. So look, the Auditor General's office is a crime scene. That's what we should address first.
Thank you.
Before the report.
This one, the dishonest is the problem. Let's solve it. Everything will furnish. Professor Sh0cǩs has asked, thank you very much for your message. He says, these so-called irregularities occur with such clockwork predictability that it is in fact irregular to keep calling them irregularities. Let us call them what they truly are. Regularities. And why have they become regular? Because there is no real fix, no real will to fix them. Year after year, the Auditor General flags the same breaches, and year after year, nothing changes. Politics has divided us so deeply as a country. Says, until we change that mindset, the Auditor General's report will continue to sound like a broken record. New year, same regularities. What Ghana needs is not just more laws, but the political courage to enforce them, to recover stolen funds, and to punish offenders, no matter their political party. Prof,
well,
2 minutes.
On the regularities of these irregularities, I have seen, to my amazement, people acting to sideline rules and looting as if there won't be tomorrow.
Okay.
As if they would never be caught. I've seen people acted in a way that is even shocking to some of their own bosses they worked with. Somebody is working somewhere and said, do you know what this guy has done? And it comes up to light, say, hey, did this happen? And maybe it is because we haven't dealt with these things or with these guys punitively enough. And thankfully, for the first time in the history of Ghana's Fourth Republic, there has been oral. And this government has shown clearly that it wouldn't tolerate such acts. So, in my view, over to you, OSP, over to you, AG, over to you, Yoko, and let no one say when people are being when people are being dealt with, let no one say that it's amount to political witch hunt. Alfred, let me make this brief point whilst we round up. I think people are watching us and sometimes we get feedback. So let me restate my position again on the outcome of the Ablekuma by-elections. Once again, I commend the police for dealing swiftly with those corporates who perpetrated violence on people. But though I earlier felt that we may want to let sleeping dogs lie, I agree with the suggestions that Hawa Kumsin is equally culpable, you know, and most.
We ain't some who team course watching on so I'm not so Jim Ewa, the Senate or body, and the Dumbi Edomian, Bessenshim, na ya sign a sumo conscience.